Hello, this is Jimmy Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. Let's get right into it. First, we have Greta has been a dutiful soldier of the Marxist global warming cult. She owns a stuffed octopus because she is autistic, but she stood with Gaza, so now she's an anti-Semite. Those are the rules. Zero loyalty, stay unscripted, perish. Why anyone would live this way is beyond me, and that's from Clint Russell on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, octopuses are dog whistles now, TIL. And I also added, Greta was a good girl who said all the right things and was Time Magazine's Person of the Year for 2019, but then she dared to dissent at all and they came after her for it. Just go show how dissent isn't tolerated at all by the supposedly accepting left. You know, the normie DNC left is up Israel's ass. Well, then the Reddit term the online left is up Palestine's ass. You know, they're the ones who are more coming after her. I personally don't care for either, though I personally blame Israel more since they get more U.S. funding currently. So that's my thoughts. There, yeah. Then we have new rule, don't go to college, from Bill Maher on YouTube, and I posted that, and I said, what did I say? I said, agree with Mar here. Colleges are pretty much just a lefty circle jerk. Now I can go on most parts of Reddit or Twitter and get the exact same thing for free. Then we have, let's see, we have, Amash was recently worried about this. With great sadness, I have now confirmed that several of my relatives, including Viola and Yara, pictured here, were killed. And it was in Gaza. And I said, sad, frowny face, I still think the U.S. should stay out of the conflict, though. You know, some people are going to get hurt in war, and that's the consequence of it, but that doesn't mean we should enter every war in the world, I would say. You know, we don't want to be constantly at war. You know, there's always going to be war. You know, only the dead have seen the end of war, as the saying goes, and that's something that I think we need to remember at times like this, you know, which doesn't mean we need to get involved in every war. You know, sometimes people need to sort things out among themselves, and hopefully they'll realize that killing each other constantly isn't productive, and that peace is the way to go, I would say. You know, you gotta have peace. You just can't constantly kill each other all the time. And we have This Is Insane. This AI can analyze a person's brainwaves and predict what the person is looking at, from Adam Friended on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, 2 months ago I was told this was a conspiracy theory, and linked to my old post from Michael Mouse on August about how the World Economic Forum had computer monitoring brainwaves, sending data to the boss and the cops and punishing you for wrong thoughts. There'll be a conclusion. You already have technology to get used to it. So that's, you know, increasingly, you know, increasingly now they can after you for if you do wrong things on social media. Soon you might even go beyond that. It might be if you wrong think at all, they'll be able to read your brainwaves, and I don't think that would be good. You know, I think the thing is you know, you should say whatever you want. But soon, you know, you might not have that. You might not be able to think whatever you want about them coming after you for it, and that's something that I'm really afraid of. Then we have mass counter-protester arrested after stopping shooting at Free Palestine rally and march in Eugene, from doublesidedmedia.com by Frosty Slowman, and yeah, I definitely don't think that's good. I think that is a NAP violation, I would say. You know, I think people, I don't really care for all the, you know, the extremely pro-Hamas protests, but, you know, if people want to do that, I think they should be able to. That's no reason to attack them at all, you know. We need to support free speech and freedom of expression as long as the NAP isn't being violated. Then we have, why do the Reddit/DNC left want as big a government as possible, but are suddenly critical of government authoritarianism when one person has the wrong letter next to their name? And I added, that's a self-post that I made, and I said, from my perspective, it's because people always justify authoritarianism what supports their narratives. It's why the Reddit/DNC left went from #resist to comply without question seemingly overnight. Thoughts? And then I added, uh, people also seem to think that 40 they agree with is legitimate. If only they could think that for 40 they agree with as well. And I added, quote, but I want to tell people the Republicans think that too. So did the Nazis. Everyone thinks they're going to use the state to help people, but I think the state is inherently authoritarian. And if you only think you need the state to help people, and people consent to it, that's fine. But the thing is, people might not consent to it. So we need to, if people want consent to help from the government, to be able to. But I think the thing is that people are kind of forced to help from the government sometimes, even if they don't want it. And that's something that's important. I personally don't think people should be doing drugs out on the street, be out lying down the street all day. But if they want to, I think they should be able to without getting forced into help from the government. And that's what the government wants people to force people to help sometimes. And I think that's right. I think people should just if people want to ask for help, they should be able to get it. But I don't think people should be forced to get help, and that's something that I view as authoritarian. If people are forced to get help, especially now that help can be defined as whatever they want. Some people think conversion therapy might be help, and that's not something that some other people think it might be help. Well, other people think LGBTQ resources in schools might be help. Other people might think that might be help. So I think we need people to view help as however they want to, and not force any definitions on people. Because I think forcing definitions on people is very authoritarian if they're not actively violating the NAP, I would say. Then we have Supreme Court allows White House to fight social media misinformation from Scripps News, and I posted that, and I said, because having the state determine what is true and what isn't has always turned out great. Sarcasm. Soon, the state will. People want the state is going to have the state will determine everything. The state's going to determine everything, and that's not good. Soon the state will determine what's true and what's not, what resources you can receive, what fault things you're allowed to say and what you aren't allowed to say. And I don't think that's right. People want the state to do everything. They want the state to talk them into bed at night, it seems. And I don't think that's right. We need to be independent of the state. We need to support independent lifestyles and letting people do whatever they want as long as they're not hurting anyone else. But right now it seems like that's not the future we're headed for. We're headed for this is a future where the state can make the decisions and not that of the individual. And that's not a future that I personally am that interested in. But it looks like that's the direction we're headed, sadly. Then we have, to those who defend genocide of Palestinian people because they voted for Hamas, half the of Gaza's kids can't vote, neither can citizens from International Deliver 1. And I added, I don't think they've had an election since 2006 either, so, even a lot of the younger people there haven't voted either. Pretty much anyone under 30, I guess, because, they haven't had an election in forever as well. That's another thing. And then, Argentina president election, Javier Milei and Sergio Massa for runoff vote from bbcnews.com, and I posted that and I said, hope Milei wins. He strikes me as more of a Ron Paul type, while Massa strikes me as more of a Joe Biden type. I think Massa's supposed to win, but you never know how politics is going to go, so we'll see how that ends up. Then we have alternative banner for the subhumor, and it's the Gadsden. It's by Baton 13. It's an imager link to like the Gadsden flag, only Legos instead of "Don't tread on me." It's "Don't step on me." I think that's funny. I agree with that. Yeah, that's funny. And I said I personally "Don't tread on me" a little more because people need to advocate for their own liberty and they can't always rely on others to do that for them. That was my response. So I think someone in the comments says don't tread on anyone. So I think the thing is if people I think people we shouldn't be letting people tread on other people, but sometimes people might want to be tread on. They need to advocate for themselves, as well as they can't always rely on other people to uphold their own liberty. So that's something that's important, I think, to remember as well. Then we have the head mod of r/Libertarian literally opposes democracy. No wonder that subreddit is a fascist echo chamber from Fuck Tim Beck 6969. And I said, what did I say? I said, democracy is tyranny of the majority. In a gang rape, the majority agrees with what is going on. So that's important to remember, I think, democracy is, I think, people want to agree to democracy in a collectivized group and accept the results. I think that's fine. But, the thing is, people are forced into accepting the democratic democracy, even if they don't vote or don't participate in it at all. And that's not something I agree with, I think, as I said in one of my previous posts, I think, if you want to I think, you have as legitimate a claim to authority if you just declare yourself emperor, kind of like Emperor Norton did in California in the 1800s. Then if you get elected, you have because the thing is, legitimate authority is ultimately in the eye of the beholder, I would say, and that's something you're increasingly seeing with people saying, when my party doesn't win the election, it's illegitimate, and that's something that increasingly I think you're going to see more and more of as time goes on. Then we have, anyone know why the head mod of Gold and Black and tons of other libertarian subs got suspended from Sir Glass? And I said, where is it? Here it is. Reddit increasingly just suspends anyone who dissents at all. I don't really care for them, but the same seemed to happen to U/Donald20. He made a lot of the posts in the previous episodes, so increasingly, people are just gonna, you're not allowed to dissent, and that's not something that I think is very good, and that's why I think, we need to support free speech and allow for as much dissent as possible. Then we have government-run grocery stores predictably losing money from Reason, and I posted that, and I said, probably why the state should let the market handle it instead. And, I personally, where did I say it? So, that, sometimes not everyone's going to have resources. Food deserts are a thing in urban areas as well as rural areas. It's easier as a way to let communities they need to make sure they can support infrastructure, the rest losing access to resources. We live in a world where sadly resources are finite, and we need to allocate resources as best as possible. And I think using a market system to do that is pretty good. Hopefully, people will get access to resources. If the market didn't, so that's why ghost towns are a thing, because those are towns the market just didn't serve. I don't think there should be ghost towns because I think that's kind of unfair to the towns. But sometimes that's life. Sometimes you won't have resources, and that's just how life is, and it's unfair like that. It's the sad truth about life. Then, who will history? This is next we have who will history think worse of, and that's a tweet from Mr. Beat, and that was between Donald Trump and George W. Bush. Donald Trump has 56% of the vote currently. George W. Bush has 44%, and I said Trump, but should be Bush in my opinion, because I think the Iraq War is probably the worst thing a president's done so far this century, and also the Patriot Act. But Donald Trump's probably going to win it because of January 6th in the long run, I would say, and the perception of that, yeah. Then we have, I'd like to thank Matt Gaetz for doing the only useful thing that happened in Congress lately. Since removing the speaker, Congress has not given away any of my money to people I don't want to have it. It's progress. Let's keep it going. From Scott Adams on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, they'll still find a way to get money to Israel and Ukraine and Israel. Congress is all for show at this point. If the U.S. government wants something, they'll find a way to get it, and that's something that it doesn't really require congressional input anymore. I would say it's also it's like when we're gonna have the government shutdown. So we'll still get money to Ukraine, That's just, they'll always find a way around it. I think, it's they don't they they'll always find a way. They'll always find a way around it. It's like you can always expect people to do. If people want something badly enough, they'll find a way to get it. Then we have the First Amendment is most vulnerable in wartime from Liam McCollum, and I said probably why the U.S. government pretty much is in the constant state of war these days is to declare war on concepts like drugs, terror, and misinformation. And it's also important to remember that even even in times of war, you should be able to support the German, Italian, or Japanese governments like during World War II in the U.S. I think you would have the right to do that, even if the Espionage Act may say otherwise, and that's something. Even that's something important to remember. Free speech doesn't just take a break. The Constitution doesn't just take a break for times of war or times of pandemics. It's always important to support individual freedom, even when it might be safer not to. I would say because freedom is something that's kind of inherently dangerous, and that's something that's people need to remember. I would say. And we have a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for blank from Being Libertarian on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said Donald Trump and vice versa. They are much more alike than they are different, and as are most duopoly politicians. Donald Trump might not know the rules of the game, might not know the rules of the game as well since he doesn't have much experience in government. But the thing is I think they both roughly equally corrupt, but Biden has all the previous government experience to know how to hide it. Then we have Rand Paul, what they didn't want you to know about COVID, the lab leak and Fauci from John Stoss on YouTube, and I said, it just goes to show that the government can, create a deadly virus and it can kill a lot of people, and media can hype it up as much as possible, but it's still, they won't take any responsibility for it. So that's just something that's important to realize, I would say, that the government can pretty much do anything and not take responsibility for it, and most people won't go after them. And that's just the harsh reality of life, that, the government can get away with pretty much anything as long as people let them. And I think we're gonna wrap up there. I'll see you guys next episode. Bye.